morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Lynchburg. We're glad you are here. Whoever you are, whatever your beliefs, whatever your age, and whomever you love, you are welcome here. As we work together for justice, compassion, and peace, we also acknowledge with humility that our buildings sit on Monacan land. My name is Kim Sinha, and I've been with this congregation since 2004. I'm a member of the Sunday Service Committee, and when I did my little committee pitch last week on Committee Sunday, I forgot to mention that our technical team is also part of the Sunday Service Committee, and forgive me for that omission. They are a key player, of course, in our Sunday services. If you are with us for the first time on Zoom or in the sanctuary, we are glad you chose to be here this morning to participate in the service for this congregation we love. If you would like to receive our monthly newsletter and Friday email updates, please fill out the virtual visitor card found in our website, uulynchburg.org, under Sunday Services, or fill out the yellow card in the back of the chair in front of you and place it in the offering basket during our offering. Now I have a few announcements. This is the final week to donate spare change to the RE Easter egg collection. The change will be collected from the jars on Tuesday so we can fill our eggs for the egg hunt. There are donation jars all around the building, or see Courtney Sinha. Also, take note of the announcements in your order of service. I just want to highlight a few. A reminder that our donations for the April service auction are due to Betty by April 18th. And you can send them to, where's her email address? It's in here somewhere. betty.corbin@protonmail, all one word, .com. You can also see the newsletter for details. Among other things for auction are decorative name tags that I am donating, so look for that, just a little plug. And the Radio IQ Spring Fund Drive is happening. Look for information in the newsletter about that. We combine our donations with other Unitarian churches in the region for advertisements on their, usually during the morning drive and evening drive news programs. Any other announcements? Anything else? All right then, let's take a moment to wave greetings to our friends on Zoom, and for the Zoom folks to wave to us in the sanctuary. Hello, Zoomies. And now I invite us to release our worries about the world and our own lives as we enter into the service by taking some slow, calming breaths. And now let us join in the lighting of our chalice, the symbol of our shared faith, as we say these words together. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, O Spirit of life. One of my joys when I'm putting together a service is I like to reserve the first hymn for a song that the children who are with us at that time would like to sing. So for today, I chose This Little Light of Mine, hymn number 118. Please rise in body or spirit as you are able.
I'd like to invite all the young ones and young at heart to join me in the front. Good morning. We have a small group today. Everybody must be enjoying the beautiful spring weather, huh? All right, so we are in the month of April, and so last week we started talking about a new theme, and we are talking about joy this month. Last week we talked about finding joy in nature.
A little bit of joy.
Yeah, and that was a lot of fun. And so today I have a book called The Little Book of Joy.
Everything in the book is joyful.
I hope so. One of us grew up in a little house. One of us grew up in a big house. Our houses were on opposite sides of the world. Often we were sad and lonely. Both of us wished for a friend. Sometimes the other kids wouldn't even let us play, or they were so far away. See, he's having to look at them with his telescope. We wondered if we would always be sad and lonely.
Since it's on the opposite of the side of the world, it's different seasons at
It is.
different times.
Yep, so it looks like they're having like spring and summer over here and definitely winter over here. But when we sat still and breathed in the quiet, we noticed something beautiful.
Wait, a rainbow flower and a rainbow bed.
Oh yeah, they found some rainbows to bring them joy, didn't they? If you just focus on the thing that is making you sad, then the sadness is all you see. But if you look around, you will see that joy is everywhere. Joy is the warm, tingly feeling of the sun tickling your toes first thing in the morning. It's the giggly, squiggly feeling when you are doing something so silly. And it's the soft, snuggly feeling of being all wrapped up, cozy in your bed at night. Even when you are caught in the rain and your joy is washed away, it's waiting at the bottom of a puddle. Even if you slam the door and your joy can't get in, it's just on the other side, waiting for a loving hug. And even if there is a loud noise in the night and your joy gets scared away, it comes streaming right back with the light of the silvery moon. Joy is the bubbly, bouncy feeling of finding a good friend. And once you let joy in, like magic, your heart always has room for more. We discovered that the more joy we shared, the more joy we had. And the more joy we had, the more joy we could share. So look for the joy all around you and share it. Write it in a letter, play it on a drum, sing it out to the sky. It will travel up in the air, across the ocean. Someone will find it.
I found a rainbow shell.
Did you find a rainbow shell? I bet that was someone sharing their joy from way far away, huh? And share it. And as it spreads from person to person, the world will fill with joy.
It was a ginormous shell. I had to show it to the oyster out.
The end. So I really like this book because it talks about times when these kids were feeling sad, or they didn't have friends to play with, or things just felt really hard. And they noticed that if they look around, they could still find joy somewhere. And so that's a really important thing to remember. And today we're going to be talking about what do we do when times are hard and when we feel frustrated or sad or like no one is listening to us, how can we still find joy in those moments? So we're going to be finding some ways that we can do that today. All right, are we ready to go upstairs? All right.
Today, we take up an offering of our gifts for the work of this congregation we love, the monetary support of our members and friends, along with the generous gifts of time and talent, make the work of our congregation possible. I invite you to use the offering baskets here in the sanctuary, or if you're on Zoom, you may donate on the website through Venmo, or send a check to the church office. Also, we take an offering of our gifts generously offered and gratefully received. It is our tradition to share the joys and concerns of our joys and concerns are held in tenderness and care. As we gather in this sacred space, let us reflect on the joys and concerns that bind us as a community. In times of celebration and hardship, we find strength in our connections. Let us begin by recognizing the joys that fill our hearts, personal achievements, the love of family and friends, or the beauty of nature. Each joy, no matter how small, is a precious gift that brings light into our lives. Take a deep breath and think of a recent joy. Feel the warmth and happiness it brings. Now imagine sharing that joy with others, spreading its light and positivity through our community. When we share our joys, we amplify their impact and create a ripple effect of happiness. Now let us turn to the concerns that weigh on our hearts. Those among us who are sick, or facing personal struggles, societal challenges, or global crises. It is natural to feel burdened by these worries, but we are not alone. In this community, we support one another through empathy, compassion, and understanding. Take a deep breath and think of a concern you are facing. Acknowledge the emotions it brings and allow yourself to feel them. Now imagine sharing that concern with others, knowing that you are surrounded by a community that cares and supports you. When we share our concerns, we lighten the load and find strength in our collective resistance. In the midst of our joys and concerns, we have the power to choose joy. Choosing joy does not mean ignoring our struggles or pretending that everything is perfect. It means finding moments of gratitude, hope, and positivity, even in the face of adversity. Let us carry the spirit of shared joys and concerns with us. Let us remember that we are part of a community that celebrates our joys and supports us in our struggles. Let us choose joy, not as a denial of our challenges, but as a courage. Find simple moments in the connectedness we build and in the acts of kindness we share. May we choose joy every day and let it be a guiding light in our lives. Blessed be. Thank you, Emily. Our reading this morning is Joy is Hard by Reverend Joe Cherry, which is available at the UUA Worship Web site. Joy is hard. Joy requires us to feel safe enough, to be safe enough, to open to vulnerability. To feel joy, you must be brave. Joy walks into a room after the space has been cleared of shame, cleared of doubt, cleared of self-recrimination. Joy is hard. Joy is hard, and joy is worth the hard work of preparation, preparing oneself and setting down all the defenses, all the shoulds and could haves, and the should not haves and might haves. Joy is worth the work. You are worth the work. You can start small, the simple pleasure of your favorite tea, the grand freedom of a belly laugh. Invite joy to be your companion. As you already know, through the Time for All Ages, our focus this month is joy. Joy can be understood in multiple ways, depending on context and perspective. On one hand, joy can be seen as a fleeting, intense feeling of happiness or pleasure. This interpretation emphasizes the temporary nature of joy, often triggered by specific events or experiences, such as receiving good news, achieving a goal, or spending time with loved ones. These moments of joy are like bright sparks that light up our lives, providing bursts of happiness that can uplift our spirits. On the other hand, joy can be viewed as a more sustained and pervasive state of being. This perspective sees joy as an integral part of one's lifestyle and outlook, characterized by positive attitude, gratitude, and appreciation for life. It involves finding meaning and fulfillment in everyday activities and cultivating a sense of joyfulness that permeates one's existence. In this sense, joy is not just a momentary emotion, but a way of life, a continuous thread that weaves through our daily experiences, bringing a sense of contentment and well-being. My talk this morning will explore how our Unitarian Universalist values can guide us to joy as a way of life, even in a world that feels increasingly heavy. Many of us wake up each morning with a sense of dread as we check the news. Political uncertainty, threats to democracy, injustices against marginalized communities, global crises weigh on our hearts. Yet within our UU values, we find the seeds of joy, resilience, and hope. Disheartened as we were by last November's election results and having to now experience a presidency driven by resentment, scapegoating, and cruelty, we might be asking ourselves, how do I cope? How will I steel myself to do this for the next 4 years? It won't be easy. The president and his enablers are free of guardrails, unhindered by a complicit Congress, and empowered by an extremist Supreme Court. We haven't even reached the 100th day of this presidency, and already immigrants, including those here lawfully, are being rounded up without due process and sent to detention camps. Federal workers by the thousands are being fired without cause. Diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives have been all but outlawed. And our transgender beloved have been targeted for especially cruel treatment. In times like these, finding joy may feel impossible or even irresponsible. The world is a friggin' dumpster fire. But consider that not allowing yourself to have joy is surrender. This is the time to lean into joy as hard as you can. As Unitarian Universalists, we are called to seek and cultivate joy, not as a way to escape reality, but as an act of resistance, resilience, and renewal. Our Unitarian faith does not promise us an easy road, nor does it shield us from pain. However, our values guide us to affirm the inherent worthiness and dignity of every person, justice and compassion in human relations, and the interdependent web of existence. Joy, then, is not a fleeting feeling, but a sacred practice, one that acknowledges our struggles while refusing to let despair define us. Joy, when viewed as a sacred practice, becomes more than an occasional burst of happiness. It transforms into an intentional daily act of faith. To practice joy is to cultivate an awareness of life's blessings, even amidst hardship. This sacred practice requires us to be present, to honor our emotions without being consumed by them, to actively choose gratitude and love over cynicism and despair. Within Unitarian Universalism, joy is not dependent on external circumstances, but is nurtured through our commitment to justice, community, and spiritual exploration. To engage in joy as a sacred practice, we must intentionally create space for it in our lives. This might mean setting aside time for reflection, prioritizing relationships that bring us fulfillment, or engaging in acts of kindness that uplift others. By treating joy as a discipline, just as we might treat prayer, meditation, or activism, we reaffirm our belief in the possibility of a better world, both for ourselves and for those around us. How then does one engage in joy as a sacred practice during a time of real trouble? Well, John Lennon and Paul McCartney famously sang, when I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me. But I doubt any of us gathered here today turn to Mother Mary. But we can turn to our Unitarian Universalist values. And David, this is your cue to put up the slides, please. Now, you may not be totally familiar with our values, and if the sign up there is too difficult to see, there are these cards in the seat pockets that you can turn to. This is called the Shared Values Flower, showing our 6 values with love at the center. These 6 values are our guideposts. I strive to live up to what they ask of us as UUs. But how do they relate to joy? So let's take them one at a time, starting with transformation. Next slide. Here we go. In the face of current events that often seem overwhelmingly negative, Unitarian Universalist value of transformation offers a powerful framework for joy. Transformation emphasizes personal growth, social change, and the continuous evolution of our understanding and actions. Our religious tradition is a living tradition because we are always learning new truths. By embracing transformation, we can navigate the challenges of today's world and cultivate joy even amidst adversity. Transformation begins with personal growth. By engaging in self-reflection, continuous learning, we can find joy in our own development and resilience. Spend time each day reflecting on your values, goals, and progress. Journaling can be a helpful tool in this practice. Dedicate time to learning new skills or exploring new interests. Knowledge can empower you to understand and navigate societal challenges more effectively. Transformation also involves working towards social change. By advocating for justice and equality, individuals can find joy in contributing to a better world. Join local groups or organizations that work towards social justice. Participating in activism can be a source of fulfillment and joy. We witnessed this last week with the uplifting accounts from those who participated in the April 5th protest. Perform acts of kindness and compassion. Helping others can create a sense of purpose and joy, reinforcing the UU principle of promoting justice and compassion. Transformation requires adapting to new circumstances and evolving with resilience. Embracing change can lead to personal and collective growth, fostering joy even in difficult times. Practices like mindfulness and meditation can help you stay present and manage stress, enhancing your ability to adapt and make room for joy. Next slide. Pluralism. Unitarian Universalism embraces pluralism, recognizing that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. This commitment to diversity enriches our capacity for joy by inviting us to see the beauty in difference, to celebrate multiple paths to meaning, and to learn from traditions beyond our own. Pluralism encourages us to find joy in the wisdom of many voices, in the music of many languages, and in the rituals of many faiths. It reminds us that joy does not look the same for everyone. What nourishes one soul may not nourish another, yet all paths toward deeper connection and understanding are valuable. In a world often divided by ideology and fear, embracing pluralism as a source of joy allows us to delight in curiosity, to see each encounter as an opportunity for growth, and to build bridges where others may seek to build walls. When we make space for plurality of joys, whether through sharing meals from different cultures, engaging in interfaith dialogue, or simply listening with an open heart, we expand our own capacity for happiness. We move beyond the narrow confines of individual experience and step into the richness of collective experience. In this way, pluralism deepens our joy, offering us a vast and ever-growing mosaic of love, resilience, and possibility. Next slide. The Unitarian Universalist value of generosity calls us to cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. Generosity, both in giving and receiving, nurtures joy by reminding us of abundance rather than scarcity. When we share our time, resources, and love with others, we deepen our sense of connection and fulfillment. Generosity can take many forms, often on a personal level. It may mean offering our time to a friend in need, writing a note of appreciation, or practicing self-compassion. On a communal level, it includes acts of service, charitable giving, and working together to uplift those who struggle. When we create communities of generosity, we build a culture of shared joy, reinforcing the understanding that we thrive together, not alone. By practicing generosity, we create a ripple effect of joy. Each act of giving, whether small or large, becomes a testament to our shared humanity and our belief in a world rooted in love and care. Next slide. The Unitarian Universalist value of interdependence, by which we honor the interdependent web of all existence and acknowledge our place in it, guides us to joy in profound ways. When we acknowledge our interconnectedness, we realize that joy is not solely an individual pursuit, but a communal practice. Our joys are magnified when they are shared, just as our burdens are lightened in the embrace of others. Interdependence calls us to find joy in relationships, in acts of mutual care, and in the simple recognition that we are not alone. It reminds us that our well-being is tied to the well-being of others, and that by nurturing connections with people, with nature, with the sacred, we create spaces where joy can occur even in hardship. When we advocate for justice and when we show up for one another, we participate in the sacred cycle of giving and receiving joy. Next slide, equity. The Unitarian Universalist value of equity guides us to joy by declaring that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to acceptance with dignity, love, and compassion. This recognition encourages a community where all are treated with respect and fairness, creating space for individuals to grow, be seen, and celebrated for who they are. When people are able to thrive in an environment of love and compassion, they are more likely to experience joy because their basic needs for belonging, respect, and connection are met. In practical terms, equity requires a framework where individuals aren't hindered by systemic barriers or biases, but can access the resources and opportunities they need to thrive. This in turn fosters a collective joy, one rooted in shared well-being and the understanding that the prosperity of one person enhances the prosperity of all. The pursuit of equity means actively working to dismantle injustices and ensure that no one is left behind, and that in striving, joy can be found. Joy is not just a personal emotion, but a communal experience, one that is most fully realized when all people are free to live authentically and are supported by a compassionate, equitable society. Next slide. Justice. The Unitarian Universalist value of justice calls us to create diverse, multicultural communities where all feel welcome and can thrive. Justice and joy are deeply intertwined. True joy cannot exist in isolation from fairness, equity, and human dignity. When we work toward justice, we create conditions where more people can experience joy, and in doing so, we expand our own capacity for it. Working for justice requires courage, but it also brings a profound sense of purpose. The joy of justice is the joy of solidarity, of knowing we are part of something greater than ourselves, of standing in witness and action with those who seek a more just world. It is the joy of seeing barriers fall, of watching love triumph over fear, and of knowing that our efforts contribute to the flourishing of all. Moreover, when we build communities rooted in justice, we cultivate spaces where everyone can bring their full selves. A just world is one where people are free to express their identities, where no one must live in fear, and where love is not limited by oppression. In such a world, joy becomes not just a possibility, but a birthright. And finally, last slide, love. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. Our congregation's motto is, "We live love in the world," reflects this commitment. By placing love at the heart of our values, we can work toward overcoming the destructive paths our country and our city have taken. Love offers essential emotional and psychological support, especially during uncertain and distressing times. It builds relationships and communities, providing solace and strength to face daily challenges. Support from loved ones can alleviate dread and foster hope and resilience. Joy enhances this support, offering moments of happiness that counterbalance negativity and stress. Love drives advocacy and activism. Motivated by love for others, individuals are more likely to stand against injustices and fight for marginal communities' rights. Caring deeply about others encourages participation in civic activities like voting, volunteering, and community organizing. Joy makes these activities fulfilling and energizing, keeping individuals engaged. Love fosters communities where everyone feels valued and respected, combating divisiveness and cruelty often seen in politics. Joy transforms these spaces into vibrant, supportive environments where individuals thrive. Inclusive communities serve as models for broader social change, demonstrating the power of love and joy in creating harmonious environments. Love promotes empathy and understanding, essential for addressing political and social issues. Approaching others with empathy leads to listening, understanding different perspectives, and finding common ground. Joy enhances empathy, making interactions more positive and constructive, leading to effective dialogues and solutions to complex problems. Empathy driven by love and joy bridges divides and fosters cooperation. So joy can encompass both momentary bursts of emotion and a way of life. Fleeting experiences of joy can contribute to a broader, more enduring sense of joyfulness in life. These moments of happiness can accumulate and reinforce a joyful outlook, creating a positive feedback loop that enhances overall well-being. Unitarian Universalist values offer a pathway to joy in a world that right now feels very heavy by honoring interdependence, embracing pluralism, working for justice, adapting to change, practicing generosity, and affirming equity. We create a foundation of hope and resilience. By actively living out our UU values, we can have joy in our lives, and collectively, we can create a community that not only brings joy to our congregation, but also serves as a beacon of hope and inspiration for all. Joy is not passive, it is an intentional practice. As we leave this space today, I invite each of us to commit to one joyful practice this week. And in keeping with my professorial side, I made a handout that has 101 ways to spark joy. But being the absent-minded professor that I am, I left them at home. Blessed be. Oops. And now I lost the script.
We're gonna sing.
Oh, here it is. We're going to sing a hymn. We're going to sing, please rise as you are able. I've got Peace Like a River, hymn number 100. All right, as our service draws to a close, we extinguish the flame of our chalice as we say these words together. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And let's just take a quick moment to wave farewell to our Zoomy friends. Bye. There's too much hardship in this world not to find joy every day. There is too much injustice in the world not to right the balance every day. There is too much pain in this world not to heal every day. Each of us ministers to a weary world. Let us go forth now and do that which calls us to make this world more loving, more compassionate, and more filled with the grace of divine presence every day. Blessed be.